Well, good morning, magandang umaga, and welcome to today's episode of My PI Dream. Today is going to be something that I like doing on a day-to-day basis, and it's a project around the yard. As you know, there are so many different projects that I have in my list. It's like Santa's list for giving out presents during Christmas time. Well, I have a list of things that I need to do around ViLTROX all the time. And how do I determine what job or what task that I want to take on for the day? It has to do with priorities and urgency. When I speak about urgency, is something broke? If it's broke, then of course that's the urgency I need to work on. Now I have some stuff that's kind of broke, but it's really not that big of a deal. It's not really affecting anything. It's more of an inconvenience than it is actually affecting us inside the house, Ness and I. But today, I'm going to choose one of those tasks. That's a fun task. It's a DIY project, and we'll get into that right after the beginning of today's episode. So without further delay, let's get today's episode underway. Now, today I'm going to do an outdoor task because I'm going to take advantage of all the clouds that we have this morning. I have several outside tasks. I have something I want to work on in the raised bed garden. I have a couple things around the yard that I want to do. But I want to do a fun task today that involves working on the retaining wall over here on the side. You can probably see from just around the corner, we did this project a while back. And this project was putting up planters. And they're doing great. This is our live wall that we have right here. But I had decided at some point that I wanted to extend it out a little bit further so we have more of a live wall. So a year ago, I ordered some more of these planter holders. And what I'm going to do today, I'm going to go ahead and extend out our live wall here just a little bit because I really love green. I'm sure it's obvious from what you see all around the yard here. So anyway, in the basement, I have some additional of these planters, and I think it will probably bring it out. I'm thinking about to here. That's one more additional, and we'll see, maybe later on we'll order some more and we'll go out even further. So anyway, that's what I'm going to do this morning. I'm going to add some more greenery to our wall here. Let's take a look at all the parts and the tools that we're going to be using today to make this project possible. Well, let's start with the plant holder itself, the wall mounted plant holder, and that's this right here, the plant holder. And this is an insert. This insert right here will go inside the plant holder, and what this does, this allows water to go through without keeping saturated water inside the planter, and allows it to actually go down to the next level. And you'll see that once we do the assembly. Now what I'll do at the end of today's episode, I will put a link in the description block of today's episode to show you where I actually purchased this product right here. But there are many products that are very similar to this that do the same thing. There's some that are very flexible. Actually, they're made out of like a cloth material so that you can collapse them down if you want to. They're very easy to pack. I kind of like these because they're really durable. I don't think I'll have any problem with breaking down. I've had these out here on the wall for well over a year, maybe about 2 years, and I've had no problem with the UV making them brittle or breaking down, so they seem to be UV resistant. Anyway, let's go ahead and look at what else we have here. The tools necessary to do today's project. We're going to have to drill. We're going to have to drill into the wall because we're going to have to mount these anchors. These anchors will go inside the concrete. Inside the concrete. That's not concrete, that's my hand. Obviously you know that. So that we can attach the screw in behind the little holder for the planter, and this was what it's going to use, and we'll put the planter on this and it will secure it to the wall. We have a couple of masonry drill bits, and what I like doing, I like starting with a small drill bit because the small drill bit, it won't move and break up the concrete, and it'll be very accurate from the place that you do your marker. And this is actually called what's called piloting. We'll pilot a hole to allow this bigger drill bit right here, which is approximately the same diameter as this anchor right here. And what we'll do, we'll make this guide the hole before we make the bigger hole right here, which might break into different areas. And so this is for accuracy. Okay, of course I have my little marker right here to mark the holes. And sometimes if it's a little too tight, You use a little hammer. Use the hammer to tap in your anchor into the wall. It's very simple operation. Now today I'm going to be mounting 13 or maybe 12 of these. There are 13 here, and you're wondering, why do I have this odd number here? Well, they don't come in odd numbers. They usually come in a set. And the original intent was to go all the way to the ground, but therein lied a problem when I got to thinking about my lawnmower, trying to run my lawnmower and edger up against the wall. So I left a space there to make it easy for me to keep this area nice and clean. And that's okay, it's no problem. And I have the extra ones, which is going to allow me to go over. Now this row right here, I believe, is 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I have 13. So I can either do one more row and just come out to here, or I can do another one and have one blank area that I'll add later on. I think that's what I'm going to do, to go ahead and exhaust the supply of the plant holders that I have here right now. So that's what I'm going to do. Let me go ahead and get started with doing the mounting on the wall. These holders actually interlock with each other. They interlock at this point right here. So it's as easy as just finding your last one that you put into place, and then setting it up right next to the last one. And what you should do some measuring. So this is my pilot masonry drill bit, and I know the distance between here and the bottom of our pebble rock coping up here is the same length as this right here. So we have this one here. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to bring it down to the same level. I don't need a tape measure. I could use a tape measure. And then I'm going to put a little mark inside here, because this is where our hole is going to be for our drill bit. Okay, I have that. Let me go ahead and do the drilling. Now, most everybody knows how to use a drill, but we get a lot of newbies on our channel who are intimidated sometimes by power tools. So this task right here is it's a moderate level of skill and knowledge to be able to do something like this, maybe even a lower level if you're not really familiar with using power tools and doing these type of DIY projects. So we're going to start with a little lesson for those of you who have never done this before or have never used a power tool. If you have a drill, many of the drills that you can get today, and this is a battery powered, this is a cordless battery powered drill, and this is what I prefer if I have the opportunity to use these, so I don't have to hook up the wire, bring an extension cord outside, and get all that mess. This makes it very simple. Now, many of the cordless drills, as well as the corded drills of today, are dual functionality. They act just like a drill, and they act like a hammer drill, which is what you need to go through concrete. What a hammer drill does, it puts some vibration in the drilling action, and it breaks through the concrete very easily. And you'll really notice this when you see things like this on your drill bit. When you see the symbol that looks like a drill bit and a symbol that looks like a hammer. And you'll see sometimes, like the DeWalt, I like the DeWalt that shows you on the side, there's a little hammer on there. So it lets you know. So what we're going to do, I've already got it set up inside the hammer position right here, and when it drills, it will make a buzzing sound that you don't normally hear when you are in the regular drill position. It will help you easily cut through your concrete. Now, sometimes people ask, how deep should I drill? Well, you should drill no deeper, or maybe just a slight bit deeper than your anchor that you're putting inside the wall. A good way to judge it is what you can do is on your drill bit, you can measure. So we'll say we want to go approximately this deep right here. And then what you can do, you can take a piece of masking tape and put a piece of masking tape at this point right here. And when you go that deep to where that masking tape is, you know you've went as deep as you need to go without having to go any deeper. In the interior wall inside your house, you might want to be very careful about how you drill inside those walls. So you have to also be careful there are no wires, electrical wires or plumbing in the background, but also to avoid going deeper than you need to. That's a good way of doing it. Now out here, we're inside the retaining wall right here. If I go a little bit further, I can pretty much judge how far I need to go, but if I go a little bit more further, it's not a big deal. Okay, well, that's the process for drilling the hole. Let's go ahead and set the anchor in place. Okay, something I forgot to mention when we were showing the tools that we need for this project. You need a screwdriver, Phillips head screwdriver, to match up with the Phillips head screws. So let's go ahead and put the screws in. And they're not going to go in all the way, and we'll adjust them once we get our pot holder, our plant pot holder in place. So you can see everything lines up just correctly. Now normally you would tighten everything up when you are done with the project, but we're not done. Before I tighten anything up, we're going to go ahead and do the installation of all the anchors and line everything up ahead of time for the rest of them. And a final thing that we'll do is tighten up each one of the screws that help mount the pot holder to the wall. Well, while I'm in the middle of the project over here, we have something I thought that might be interesting. These are the fine folks that deliver groceries. One of the positive aspects about being in a pandemic has to do with our ability to not have to go grocery shopping anymore without not merely going online and finding what we want. So what Ness does, Ness orders, and she orders from all over. We talked about this from the wet market downtown, and from Paranaque up by Manila. It depends on what we need. But
this is from the wet market.
This is from the wet market here locally in Lipa. And we get our chicken, vegetables, fruits and vegetables. We have some Rycote coffee in here, eggs. We get a lot. We get everything we need without having to go, and it's very affordable, and it's also delivered. It's very accommodating to be able to have it delivered right to our front doorstep. Now, before we get started back on that living wall project, what I want to do is do a couple of shout outs, and this is really important today. It's important every day to do birthday shout outs and recognition shout outs and things, but today's a little bit unusual, and you'll see in just a moment. Well, our first is a birthday shout out, and the first birthday shout out goes to someone who's kind of close to Ness, kind of gets a lot of email and chat messages back and forth, Messenger and things like that. I think a lot more than many of the other people. Anyway, it's a birthday shout out for her husband. You want to take it from here?
This is from Teresita Lindo for her husband, Romy Lindo, on his 81st birthday.
And that was on February 17th. And just a little fact, Romy is actually from here. And when I say here, I don't mean in our basement right here. I mean, he is a part of Barangay Anilao, which is where we live here in Lipa City. So he is one of our neighbors who went across the pond, because both the couple live over in Virginia. And our second shout out today, it's not a birthday shout out, it's not an anniversary shout out, but it's something that is very touching, and it's a little bit unusual. We don't normally do shout outs for just anything, but we had something that came in and it was very touching, and I want to share this with you. I'm going to read it verbatimly from the request that came from the daughter, very special daughter of a man who actually lost a loved one. When I say lost a loved one, it's not a person, but, well, you'll see. Anyway, this is what I got from Brianna P. And she says, hello, yesterday we lost USAF RMWD. And what that is, the United States Air Force retired military working dog. And her name was Jackie. And her and my dad, also a U.S. Air Force retiree, have been watching you every morning since the start. I was wondering if she could get a shout out. It would mean the world to my dad. Thank you for being a part of their morning. Well, we're doing an exception here, and we're going to go ahead and do a shout out for Jackie, because we know how dogs are so they're so important in our lives, and they're just like family members as well. And also for this family to adopt and bring in a military retired working dog, because you know at a certain point they get older, and they've done a service to their country. They do a lot of great things, like making sure that our forces are safe in the field. So anyway, kudos to the family here for actually adopting, and our condolences go out. But we want to give a special shout out to their canine, Jackie. So anyway, for our birthday recipient, we want to wish Romy a
Happy birthday, Romy.
And lastly, we just want to say to Jackie from Brianna P, her dad, and from us, we will miss you.
We will miss you, Jackie.
So as you can see, that was relatively easy. That was only just a few minutes worth of work right there to get that to that point right there. What I'm doing right now, I'm kind of flushing out inside the containers, because when I use the drill bit, some of the debris from the concrete dropped inside here. And a nice feature about this, and I'll show you here in just a second, is when it's watered, the watering effect, the way it works is from the top. The top, when it has too much water, there's an overflow inside here. You see that little hole back there? Little hole back there, and that goes down to the next level, and if it gets too much water, again, it's a cascading thing. So your top layer, or every layer when you do, it goes down and it acts like a watering point for each one of the levels here. So it's kind of self-watering in a way. And the very bottom, if you have an overflow so that you don't saturate and get diseases on the roots of your plants, it will drain right on the ground. Here, let me show you real quick what I'm talking about, the cascading. So what I did, I filled this top layer. You can see it's dropping down to the next layer, which is dropping down to the next layer, dropping down to the next layer. And I think you get the point. But you see at the very end, so that we don't have saturation and root disease, all the excess water just goes right down to the ground. Helps out with the grass down here. So this is a really good feature of this type of a potting system. Now, they also have one other thing, so that those holes don't get clogged up. You have this little device right here, and let me see if I can show you how it fits inside. We'll go to the top one, and it will fit right over that right there. And that will help prevent it from getting clogged. And the very last thing we're going to do, again, to prevent any root disease, we're going to put these inserts inside here, and the inserts will fit nice and neatly inside here, just like this. So when the water level gets down to where it drains, it will not be saturated at this point right here. So eventually that will go down to 0. Well, there you go. Another task done around the yard. Another simple DIY project. We've added an extension to our living wall here, and it's going to bring years and years of joy to us here at Villa Feliz. Very simple task. Something that what I call chunking. You do a little bit at a time. Remember, this whole place started off as a clean slate. There was nothing but dirt at one time. Then there was grass. Then there was one tree, one bush, one flower. But eventually, this is what we are moving towards. And it's getting better all the time. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Another simple DIY project that anybody can do. Again, it's very simple tools, very simple job. I'm going to leave a link in the description block of today's episode for that specific type of wall potting system for that living wall planter. Okay, well, that's it. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. Please share, and if you have not subscribed, just click on that little My PI Dream heart in the bottom right-hand side of your screen. You'll be subscribed and notified the next time I upload a new video. So until such time, from right here in the Philippines, you have a wonderful and blessed day. If you enjoyed today's episode and you would like to see more just like these, just click on one of the helpful links over to your right, and you might be able to pick up on some good information on DIY projects, how to, or if you are interested in moving to the Philippines and building, you'll find answers there as well.